What is up, everybody? Welcome to Tweak Music Tips. My name is Kova, and we were able to sit down with the one and only, the magnificent DJ Jazzy Jeff. In this episode, he talks about some of the revelations he had during the pandemic, streaming on socials, advice to new DJs, some nuggets on how to decipher great music, as well as building professional relationships. If you're new to the channel, we are Tweak Music Tips. We interview DJs, producers from all over the world, as well as have some of the latest and greatest product reviews from some of the top manufacturers. So make sure to subscribe and also follow us on all platforms at Tweak Music Tips. Well, without further ado, let's jump into the video.
I think I discovered something when the pandemic happened and we started streaming, that there were a lot of people that, especially grown-ups, that really did not want to go to the club. But when I started thinking about it, I was kind of like, if you have no desire to go to the club, where do you hear good DJs at? As soon as you tap out from the club scene, you have no way of hearing great DJs unless somebody makes a mixtape. It's not like it was. So, I think the community of people that tune in has just grown, and I didn't want to do this by myself. So I like having guests and exposing people to the amazing DJs that are around the globe. So, this has been great, man. I love it. We created a really beautiful community of people that even when I go out and I play, they show up and they have a good time. But, a cold Friday night, you can sip on something and slide your furniture to the side and dance in your socks. And I love that.
I love how you talk about the being at home, but let's talk about the communal part of it too. Like, what has been some of the people that you've connected with? Like, how have you connected with other DJs, other, just like you said, people coming to your events and stuff like that? How does that work?
Well, one of the things, there have been so many aha moments. I invited Kid Capri to come down and to play. And I told Kid right before he played, I said, there's a couple out there that met when you did Howard's Homecoming in the 90s. And they got married and they had kids and they haven't seen you since.
Yeah.
And he looked at me because I don't think he realized that there were people, that is kind of like, hey, my lifestyle isn't conducive to me going out to a club. I have 3 kids and, I'm a professional. So I really don't go out to see DJs. Bringing DJs that play really good music for people to have a good time into your living room, I think that's great. That doesn't mean that you don't want to go out, but you know what? I'm one of those people that I'd much rather watch a movie at home than go to the movie theater.
Agreed. Agreed.
Popcorn is cheaper.
The popcorn is much, much cheaper. How important are the fundamentals to you and when you communicate with people? Because I feel like you're an excellent communicator in that sense, where you don't make it feel like this big. You ever hear the Brian Tracy saying, "How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time." Like, You don't make it seem so big and so massive. How has that been in your process of you getting to where you are, and how you communicate to the newer DJs that you speak to?
Well, I didn't go to school for any of this. This was basically, I bought a 4-track and I learned how to use a 4-track, and I bought an 8-track and learned how to use, the other 4 tracks. And then, once I started, down the road that I really wanted my own studio, I've never had an engineer in the studio.
Oh, wow.
I didn't really tell people that from the Jill albums to the Music Soul Child albums to the Floetry albums, myself and all the rest of the producers that were in the studio, we basically recorded and mixed those records.
Oh, wow.
It's kind of like the elephant theory that you just said. If you don't look at it like this is this massive task and take it one step at a time, then it's really not that big. This is, you're making music for people to hear. I don't ever remember, and I used to always kind of use this as an example. I've never met a 16-year-old girl that said, I don't like the mix. She says, I don't like the record. So the most important thing is trying to get people to like the music that you do. You can figure out the sonic parts. You can figure those parts out, but it doesn't matter how great something sounds. If the song sucks, it goes nowhere. So it's just really putting that emphasis in the more important things. And, like I said, this wasn't me going to school or doing anything. This was me basically figuring it out myself. And I've had a really good run at figuring it out. So I have always brought people in the studio and showed them everything that I know. I'm one of those people that I don't believe in the secrets. We all got the same paint that Picasso got.
Yeah.
So if you paint like Picasso, that's a gift. It's not the paint.
Tell us about that part of who you are. Networking has been a little bit skewed now with the internet and how people interact, right? You're an OG, you're a seasoned vet, where going to a physical place to network, speaking to people is something that I see as one of your many superpowers. How much do you think that helped you advance and maybe connect and have these very intimate relationships with the people that you've built?
I don't know how to be anything other than that. Like, this wasn't necessarily a choice that one day I said, you kind of wanted to go this path. Like I said, because I never had a teacher, I learned from, my elders. They were the ones that showed me how to play music. They were the ones, my older brothers, showed me how to explore music and gave me my love of music. And I always looked at it like it's a pay it forward thing. None of this music that we are playing is ours. Somebody else made this music. It's our job to share it. And I think it's really selfish when you don't share it, because the person who made it didn't make it for you. They made it to be shared. So that's kind of pretty much been my mentality of, I think I was teaching before I really understood that I was teaching. I thought, once I figured something out, I think it's so cool that I need to tell somebody, what I figured out, and I want them to tell somebody, and I want them to tell somebody. That's pretty much how you get the information, passed along, especially when the information isn't yours.